Okay, to give you a better sense of how some of our math lessons have been structured, this week our outcomes are to learn to classify polygons. And so we started out by kind of brainstorming some differences here of what shapes what shapes we knew and how we would classify them. Um, and you can see, they came up with a pretty decent list of, three-dimensional shapes and some curved shapes. Now, we were ultimately after, mainly we're talking about polygons, and so we did get to that. And as we tried to come up with some initial definitions, you can see that some of them kind of overlapped, and that was a great teachable moment. So again, I could have started this unit out by just simply giving them a list of definitions and asking them to memorize them, but I really wanted to kind of build off of what they knew and kind of going forward from there. So this kind of led into a discussion or kind of a healthy debate within class as to how would we differentiate between squares, rectangles, rhombuses, trapezoids, and the such. And it kind of culminated in a lengthy discussion here about a rhombus and a square, and I was kind of surprised. Half of the kids thought that these two shapes were different, and half of the kids thought that they were the same. A lot of the kids who thought that they were the same would, grab a hold of this thing and then they would stretch it and say, see, if you stretch it enough, you can make a square. So we had to talk a little bit more about what actually constituted the definitions of a square and differentiate it from a rhombus. I gave them this, then next to kind of consider and ask them what the difference between this square, rectangle, and parallelogram were. And ultimately, in the discussion, the kids did decide that these were different, and the way they were going to decide that they were going to define these as they were slanted differently, they were diagonal, and finally we used the word angle, which is ultimately the vocabulary term that I was after. And so we've been finishing up, and we're not done with the concept, but this is kind of what we're developing. So right now, part of their assignment today is they're looking at, again, different rhombuses and trying to really work on a definition for these things, and hopefully they're starting to use words not only like side length, but also referencing the angles, so on and so forth. And so next week I'm hoping that we solidify this a little bit more and have some more concrete definitions for that. So again, you might see some of this work in your son or daughter's binder. It's not a complete idea. It's one of those things that, again, you could kind of check with them to see where they are in developing this concept, and some are really close and some are further away, but hopefully over the next week or so we'll lock that down for everyone. So again, just a kind of an insight as to what we're doing in math.